Alright, movers. I got the game 2 from the Charleston chess tournament. I played with the black pieces again. I was against an opponent who is rated 1768, if I recall correctly. Correct rating should be displayed on the thumbnail and the title. Just the thumbnail, actually. But, without further ado, let's jump into the game. So e4, so of course we play b6 in response, and we get what I think we're used to in the position. We get the bishop to d3 variation, so I'm expecting, this to potentially happen, and then we have this fun line that could be played. But instead we get this, which I hate. So, just standard procedure, allow him to do this, and then we kind of get the opening that I want anyway. And I thought that's what was going to happen, but he actually plays bishop to f4, which it says it's a mistake, but if I take this pawn, which I did in the position, then this is better for him now. Even despite the fact that he's down a pawn. And this game is going to be a lot more fun for him to play as well. But anyway, I played my bishop over to b4. We get castle. I didn't want this bishop to just be hanging here doing nothing, because we have some annoying moves that could come into play that I'd rather just stop dead on, and also give him some isolated pawns, so I can maybe target them later in the game, and extend my pawn advantage. I get knight f6, of course, and I'm expecting maybe something like this to occur, where I just kind of support it and then my queen comes out. But we get rook here instead, so I figure, okay, well I have time to castle. And we get e5. And this is probably the first move of the game that I spent a good little bit of time on, because if I go like here, for example, I'm already losing. So I'll just show it for the good people. But this sacrifice comes into play now. And we get knight g5. And if I just sink back, then queen comes and I'm getting mated in one pretty much. If I choose to defend this, then all of a sudden it's even worse. Well, it's not worse, but it's also bad because I'm losing a queen. So I saw that he had this sacrifice available, and I'm just thinking to myself, I need to get rid of this knight, because this knight is what allows him to have this check. So I got rid of the knight. He took back. He can't take this, obviously, because I'm also threatening his queen. And then what I do is I just blockade this. The queen from attacking my rook, and I attack two of his important pieces. Not two of his important pieces, but I target one important piece and then one pawn that's just hanging around. But he doesn't actually have this file anymore like he did previously when he had the knight. So he just has to sink back to d2. So I take this time to get my other knight into the game. And now I'm threatening a couple of squares. I don't have enough protection for it as of yet, but my knights are starting to come into the game. I have a game plan of trying to get them situated on the left side of the board, just because that's where a lot of the action is taking place. Because even though I avoided, the major pitfalls, which is that common trap with the knight where you get mated, what I did not avoid is this rook getting lifted and then doing the same thing. But first he tries it with the queen, so obviously mate in one is being threatened. I play g6 to try to prevent it. Queen sinks down to h6, and now I have to be careful, because if I just make a move like this, for example, you're going to see that the bishop could once again be sacked. And this is not pleasant whatsoever. I'm actually going to be losing. So once again, I can't allow anything like that to occur, so what I do is I play f5. And what f5 allows is that if he does not take en passant, then all of a sudden the bishop can't sack anymore. And then this one can't really get involved in the game too easily, because I'm just going to avoid him. This here, all of a sudden there's no mate. So that was the beauty of f5, cutting off the squares for his bishops. So he does take en passant so that he has this possibility in the future. I take with queen, and now I'm threatening both this square and this square. And now I do have enough attackers to get it done. So my opponent plays queen to g5, or not queen to g5, bishop to g5. And obviously this check exists, but there's no mate ever. But I still opt to take this. And then I play knight to f4. And the idea with knight to f4 is that he's going to trade this piece with me. And then what I'll do is I'll drop my queen down to take, and then we're just going to exchange queens, and I'm going to be up in an endgame by 2 pawns. So this was my thought process. Obviously, if he does nothing, then I'm going to either checkmate him or win the bishop. So I thought that I was just going to trade everything off. However, my opponent has to move bishop to e4. And now all of a sudden, bishop's not being threatened and mate is not being threatened. And I was being under pressure the whole game, so I was pretty low on my clock, and I kind of blitzed these moves out when I shouldn't have. I should have spent more time on them. Because I got into this stupid mindset of just if takes then takes type thing. And sometimes you can just not have to take anything and just alter your position and everything gets defended. So I dropped my knight back because I didn't want this rook to be coming at me, and then he has enough pieces stacked to win this knight when I move my queen, wherever it may be. So I move my knight here, and the idea is that he still can't quite sack because my knight is going to come over here, and that if he tries playing like bishop here, for example, I can just defend and then get my rooks doubled up, and this still never exists because there's a back rank mate threat. So that was the idea with knight to h5. Apparently in this position, this works, but I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. Because I see this happening, and then they're saying queen to c5. Like, I just completely withdraw from the position, and they're saying that this is decent. And it's decent because I'm threatening this bishop, and I'm threatening this pawn, so that I have a nice... I'm basically protecting the position, and I have a passed pawn that won't be stopped too easily. And this knight can come into the game now. One less threat. So that's the idea, anyway. But I did not see that in game, so instead, like I said, I chose knight to h5. And once again, I missed that the rook is not the only piece that can threaten the queen. The bishop can threaten the queen. And all of a sudden, I don't really have any squares left here. I have this, but that completely takes me out of the position. And, I mean, he even has moves like this, where he could just, like, take, and then go here, and all of a sudden this is still, preventable, but my queen is out of position by a lot. So this is actually quite not good. So yeah, I just dropped back queen f7, and my idea here is that I just want to try trading off these queens, and that right now I do cover this square as well, but so I'm really just trying to get rid of his main checkmate threat, because when queen's off the board, then mate threats become infinitely harder when the king is protected with pawns. My opponent plays g4, and according to the computer, I'm still winning here. I just need to play knight to f6, and I'm threatening the bishop, I'm threatening this pawn. There's just like a lot of goodies that I'm seeing, but in game I didn't like this, because I was thinking, rook just comes in, pins me, but I could also just get out of the way, and this sack doesn't work because my queen is still protecting it, and this is still under attack. If he goes back to protect it like this, then my knight goes to e5. And pretty much if he takes this, then he's not going to have a very good time, because that's going to be check. This is all he can do if he doesn't want to just sack the rook for no reason. So I can start just taking stuff. I could take this. I could take this way. Regardless, he's not going to have a fun time, though. So that's what I should have done. Instead, I played knight to f4. And the thought process here, again, I was thinking too tactically. I was thinking that, I just pretty much defend this with the pawn, and that if he ever makes exchanges on this line, that I just have a passed pawn pretty much that's protected by a rook at the slightest if I have to move my queen somewhere. So these moves do occur, And now I'm just thinking, okay, well, this bishop, could be quite annoying with a pin. And he plays rook 81, which at first I was thinking, okay, I'm just going to play queen c4 here. And I was thinking that tactically this works, because I was thinking, I threaten this, and they can't go here because I capture. If he captures the knight, then I still have check, and then I pick this up. Pretty much, I was just winning this however I looked, except for the rook sacrificing itself. So if he sacks his rook, then this is protected now by the rook for a moment, and no matter which way I take this, he is going to have check, what's it called? He's going to have check on d5 where he's winning my queen. So all of a sudden this move that I really want to play just doesn't work. And I also can't just play d5, because then bishop takes. If knight takes, I'm losing my queen. If queen takes, this is actually probably playable. We just trade everything off, and pretty much I will have a knight and a rook in exchange for my queen, which I think is fine, because I absolve these checkmate threats that he has pretty well. And I still have the 2 pawns that I've had previously, so I thought that was an okay option. But instead, I played the move queen g7, and I was thinking, okay, well, he's just going to move out of the way because he doesn't want to exchange, and, then all is good in the world. However, I missed this tactic. Whether I block with rook or not, or if I run away, this is going to be hanging at the end of the exchange. And this does not save the knight either. So unfortunately, I just missed the tactic in a game that was pretty equal. I had a material advantage, and if I just held on long enough, then I would be winning the game in the endgame. But I did not hold out long enough. So instead, I just lose a whole piece. And at this point, I'm still somewhat, hopeful that there's a chance. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to attack this bishop. It's going to move out of the way. We might have a second pawn. King can come up here and grab another pawn. All of a sudden, if I get on the second rank with this knight, just how in the first game, my opponent was able to find a draw. I was thinking, okay, maybe I could also find a draw if I need one here. But I also have potential passers once again. So I still didn't think this game was over just yet. I played rook to c8, and he just defended. And I thought this was a rather passive move from him, but turns out it's completely fine. Now I'm trying to attack g4. He plays c4, and instead of me being a smart chess player and just thinking like, I wonder why he played c4. Well, what could the reason have been? I'm just like, nope, free pawn, yum, 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 yum. Let's try coming back, from this deficit that we put ourselves in. Well, that just loses a rook, so that's what happened there. Move out of the way. I'm once again trying to attack this pawn. He opts to attack this. And now it shows how the game could have been continued. I don't even think that was the move he played. I think this was the move that he played. And the thing is, I can't take this because this bishop pin. So I moved here to get out of the way of the bishop pin, so if he takes, I now take the rook. However, once again, I'm just caught in this pin. So at this point, I resigned, down a rook and a bishop. And yeah, quite unfortunate, because I thought I held on to that position pretty decently, considering that he was pretty much trying to checkmate me as a move like 6 or 7 or whatever it was. But at this point of the tournament, I was 0.5 out of 2, quite disgusted with my performance, and yeah, that's just kind of how the tournament started. So I hope you guys enjoyed game 2. If you look at the graph one more time, you can see it was pretty even. He had a slight advantage, and then I had a slight advantage for a while. But it ended up being that blunder that kind of just sealed the deal, and then the game wasn't really comebackable from there. I think even if I didn't fumble a whole rook, I don't think this, position was salvageable. But it is what it is. He put me under a lot of time pressure, and these are 45-minute games, so not as long as a classical. So maybe with a bit more time, I could have figured things out a little more efficiently, without dropping all of my, pieces in the process. But it is what it is. He played very well, and I messed up at a crucial moment. But anyway, I'll catch you guys tomorrow for Game 3.